Fellow gardeners, let me share something that transformed my raised beds from lifeless soil containers into thriving ecosystems teeming with nature's best soil engineers. After years of struggling with compacted soil and disappointing harvests, I discovered a simple secret that had earthworms practically lining up to move into my garden beds. The magic ingredient? Coffee grounds. But not just any coffee grounds, and definitely not applied the way most gardening advice suggests. I remember the first time I witnessed this phenomenon. Within just 2 weeks of applying my coffee ground mixture correctly, I counted over 30 earthworms in a single square foot of soil. My neighbors thought I was buying worms by the pound, but the truth was far simpler and more sustainable. Before we dive into the application method, let's understand what makes coffee grounds so irresistible to earthworms. Fresh coffee grounds are actually quite acidic with a pH around 6.2, but here's where it gets interesting. As they decompose, they become nearly neutral. This pH journey creates the perfect environment for beneficial microorganisms that worms absolutely devour. Coffee grounds also provide an excellent carbon-to-nitrogen ratio when mixed properly with other organic materials. Earthworms are drawn to this balanced diet like we're drawn to a perfectly seasoned meal. The grounds retain moisture beautifully while still allowing proper drainage, creating those damp conditions that worms need to thrive. What many gardeners don't realize is that coffee grounds contain trace amounts of caffeine, which in small doses actually stimulates earthworm reproduction. It's kind of like a fertility boost for your soil's ecosystem. However, this is precisely why the application method matters so much. Too much caffeine can have the opposite effect. Here's where most gardeners go wrong. They sprinkle fresh coffee grounds directly onto their soil and wonder why they're not seeing results, or worse, why their plants seem stressed. The secret lies in the preparation process that I stumbled upon during my 3rd year of serious gardening. Start by collecting coffee grounds from your daily brewing, but don't stop there. Visit your local coffee shops. Most are happy to give away their used grounds for free. I've built relationships with 3 cafes in my area, and they actually save grounds for me in designated containers. This partnership has provided me with a steady supply of this garden gold. Once you have your grounds, the magic happens in the composting phase. Mix your coffee grounds with an equal amount of brown materials. I use shredded newspaper, dried leaves, or cardboard. This combination is crucial because it prevents the grounds from forming a water-repelling crust and creates the perfect environment for beneficial bacteria to flourish. Let this mixture sit for 2 to 3 weeks, turning it every few days. You'll notice the smell changes from that sharp coffee aroma to a rich, earthy scent. This is when you know the preparation is complete and the pH has stabilized. Now comes the moment you've been waiting for, the actual application that brings worms flooding to your beds. Don't just scatter your prepared coffee ground mixture across the surface. Instead, create what I call worm highways throughout your raised bed. So, using a garden trowel, you'll want to create shallow trenches about 2 inches deep in a grid pattern across your bed, spacing them roughly 18 inches apart. Next, just fill these trenches with your prepared coffee ground mixture, then lightly cover with your existing soil. This method actually creates concentrated feeding zones that worms will discover and follow, kind of like underground highways. The timing of this application is honestly pretty crucial. You'll want to apply your coffee ground mixture in early evening, when the soil is just slightly moist but not waterlogged. Worms are most active during cooler, humid conditions, and applying in the evening gives them the entire night to discover your offering. I typically apply this treatment once every 6 weeks during the growing season. Any more frequent, and you risk overwhelming the soil ecosystem. But if you do it any less, you just won't maintain the consistent attraction that keeps worms making your beds their permanent home. So while coffee grounds are definitely the star of this show, you can really amplify their effectiveness by, creating complementary conditions that worms find absolutely irresistible. It's important to maintain consistent soil moisture, not soggy but evenly damp, kind of like a wrung-out sponge. Remember, earthworms breathe through their skin, and they really need that moisture to survive. After you've applied the coffee ground mixture, go ahead and add a layer of organic mulch over your beds. Personally, I like to use straw or shredded leaves, since they break down slowly and provide even more food sources for your growing worm population. Plus, this mulch helps regulate both soil temperature and moisture, creating that consistent environment worms truly crave. Oh, and don't forget to consider the soil temperature as well. Earthworms are most active when soil temperatures are between 55 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit. If you're gardening in a hotter climate, this might mean focusing your applications during the cooler months, while folks in northern regions might find that spring and fall are the most effective times. Don't expect overnight miracles, but, do watch for the signs of success. Within the first week, you might notice small holes appearing in your soil. These are worm burrows. By week 2, you should start seeing actual earthworms when you gently disturb the soil around your coffee ground highways. The real magic happens between weeks 3 and 6. This is when established worms begin reproducing, and their population really explodes. You'll notice your soil becoming noticeably darker and more crumbly. Plants in these beds will show more vigorous growth, deeper green foliage, and improved disease resistance. One of my raised beds went from supporting struggling tomato plants to producing prize-winning specimens simply by building a thriving earthworm population through this method. The difference was so dramatic that I started documenting the transformation, which eventually led to creating content for Soil Sage Chronicles. If you're not seeing the worm activity you expected, check these common issues. First, make sure your coffee grounds weren't over-processed or treated with chemicals. Some commercial coffee shops, use cleaning agents that can actually repel worms. It's always best to stick to organic coffee sources when possible. Soil pH might also be a factor here. While coffee grounds help balance pH over time, extremely alkaline soils might need some additional amendments. Test your soil, and if your pH is consistently above 7.5, consider adding sulfur. Weather conditions play a huge role too. During extended dry periods, even the most attractive coffee ground applications just won't bring worms to the surface. So, maintain consistent irrigation, and maybe try applying the mixture just before predicted rainfall for maximum effectiveness. While our focus is on attracting earthworms, this coffee ground method actually delivers a bunch of additional benefits that make it worthwhile even beyond the worm factor. The improved soil structure from increased organic matter means better water retention during dry spells and improved drainage during heavy rains. Your plants will benefit from the slow-release nutrients that coffee grounds provide, including nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Plus, the increased earthworm activity creates natural soil aeration, reducing compaction and allowing roots to penetrate deeper and spread wider. I've also noticed, a significant reduction in certain soil-borne pests since implementing this method. While I can't claim coffee grounds are a pesticide, the healthier soil ecosystem just seems more resistant to problems that plague weaker soils. This simple coffee ground application has honestly become the foundation of my gardening success, and it can be the same for you. Start small with one raised bed, document your results, and expand the method as you see success. Remember, gardening is really about building relationships with your plants, your soil, and the creatures that make it all possible. The earthworms you attract today will continue working for you season after season, creating a legacy of rich, fertile soil that future plants will thank you for. It's one of those gardening techniques that keeps giving back, making each growing season more successful than the last. Ready to transform your raised beds into worm magnets? Try this coffee ground method and watch your garden come alive from the ground up. And hey, don't forget to subscribe to Soil Sage Chronicles for more game-changing gardening secrets, and share this article with fellow gardeners who are ready to build thriving soil ecosystems in their own backyards.